Hello everyone, hope all is well. Today I'm going to cover a topic that I don't really see covered at all for the most part, and it talks about isolating or isolation. And it's when it comes from a person who's abusive. So this usually tends to be from the people with cluster B issues, right? Also, it could be somebody with jealousy issues. And remember, you can never change any of that. So, also another thing I want to talk about is introverts. Nobody talks about that. And these two things coincide with each other. So, I'm going to go through a lot of things. If it's triggering, either you could take a break or stop watching for a while. It's okay, because a lot of these things, if you've been in an abusive relationship or are in one now, you will have experienced these things. I'm not going in detail what those things are, but the sentiments behind it will definitely trigger things, because we've all been through it as being some type of abuse survivor, especially from a narcissist or a borderline person, which are the cluster B personality disorders. It can happen from somebody who's just insanely jealous. So looking at these things, the first thing I want to say is, as an introvert, it's more likely you'll be isolated more easily. Why? Because as an introvert, you like to spend time alone. You might be very outgoing in a way and have a lot of friends, but you choose to spend most of your time alone. So you don't go partying and hang out at the bar. If anything, you like to be in the park in nature by yourself, or at home watching TV or reading a book. And this makes it easier for the person to isolate you, because there's less barriers for them to go through. When you have a lot of barriers, it's because you have a lot of friends and support systems. An introvert could have either a small family or no family, or a family that doesn't interact with them for whatever reasons, or they might have a good family support. This is all determining, this all has to be really dependent on the person individually. So none of this stuff is a cookie cutter thing where each thing is for each person individually on how they experience it. So as an introvert, you spend a lot of time alone. So if you do meet somebody who's super jealous, controlling, or a narcissist or a borderline, this makes it easier for them. It just does. There's less boundaries they have to break through, and less shitstorms they need to create to isolate you. But we're going to go through all the different examples, so this is a long video. And within those examples, I'm not going through different stages, like stage 1, stage 2. I'm just going to give examples and how extreme it might be getting, and different examples of that. And these are things to really look at honestly, because if this is in your relationship now, you probably need to reconsider that relationship. And if it's stuff from the past, we have to learn from the past so we don't repeat it. Okay, so let's look at some stuff. So before the isolation happens, there is the honeymoon phase, the idealization phase, the love bombing phase. Why are they doing this? To get to know everything about you. And then once that phase is over, then eventually the punishment comes in different forms. And then they'll start to manipulate you in different ways to start to isolate you. And the isolation doesn't happen naturally because you want to be isolated. You want to avoid conflict. You don't want to fight all the time. You want to avoid drama. So when you do that, you start to take things away from your own life and you put them in full control. And this is where the isolation really starts to kick in. So one thing that they do for sure is they start to destroy your support system. They start to either turn your friends against you or turn you against your friends, saying, oh, that person, that's not a good friend. They're jealous of you. They talk badly behind your back. They're envious of you. And it's like, really? I never thought that. It's like, oh, I see it. So right away, the mind games and the manipulation starts, where they want you to start to distance yourself from your friend or your family, saying, oh, your sister or your brother, it's like, oh, they wish they were you. It's like, oh, they hate you. And all, it's like crazy stuff they'll make up. I can't even think of it, but you've experienced it, so you'll know. And then you start to distance yourself from them because you don't want, you think this person cares about you so much that they're trying to protect you. That's the thing, they're trying to protect you, right? It's like, oh, that person's not good for you, or that person's jealous, or that person's using you, or that person talks behind your back. And then you're like, oh, wow, I never noticed that. Oh, you're protecting me. This is the crazy thing, right? So they try to do that by destroying your support system, by isolating you, getting the people away from you that care about you. They find fault and issues with your friends and family. Oh, they don't like me. They're jealous that I'm with you. You know, they don't want somebody good for you, and they know I'm good for you. So right away, these things start to happen. And it's just weird because in a normal, healthy relationship, that doesn't happen. In the toxic relationships, it always does. This is my experience over 30-something years. And what else starts to happen? They want to keep you to themselves. Sometimes they'll introduce you to their friends and their family. You know, if you're in a relationship, over time you'll meet their family anyway. But sometimes they do that not because they want you to meet their families, because they need their family to be part of the army of the dead to be against you in the future. So they do this on purpose, or introduce you to friends. They want you to be around their friends only. And their friends could be toxic also, or their friends could just be enablers. Because you could be like, oh, you know, Susan, tell me about your friend Susan. Oh, she's crazy. You know, they might warn you like that. Or they go, oh, she's a very difficult person, or she has really high standards and not many people are, not many people are able to meet them. So you're the lucky guy, she picked you. So all this stuff could start to happen. And it can happen on the other end too. So if I say she's, because I'm a man, and I've experienced this mostly with women. But if you're a woman, you'll experience this with the men too. So it goes both ways for sure. The manipulation's there. They start using lies, and they justify it with jealousy. They might be jealous. Oh, you have a female friend. She wants to be with you. She wants to get in your pants. It's like, no, I've been friends with her for 30 years or 20 years or since junior high school. Oh, no, you don't see it like I see it. I can only notice because I'm a woman. You don't know these things. So it's like right away they put things into perspective that only they could understand. Or if it's a guy, oh, he's your friend. Have you ever slept with him? No. Well, that's what he wants. Well, he's married with kids. It doesn't matter. Guys are cheaters. It's like they'll do this stuff. So jealousy's a huge tool. It's probably one of the biggest tools I've ever seen used on a regular basis. And it might not come out in the beginning, but it will be used, because this is, if you want to say this is their sledgehammer, this is it. This is the main tool. Same thing is, you'll see two sides of them. You'll see the side in public around strangers and how they treat you at home, which could be abusive. And this is where they start to break down your barriers, make you confused, and this creates more isolation over time. And we'll go into other reasonings for this. Next thing you know, they start to gaslight you. Everything is either confusing or everything becomes a problem. So if you have a social life and you go out, your friends are trying to get you to cheat on me. They don't respect me. They don't like me. They want you to be with somebody else because I'm too good for you. And they'll say things like this. If you're an introvert, it's not a problem because you don't go out much and socialize. So you could see, how much easier you are to be manipulated if you're an introvert. If you're not, and you like to go out with the girls on the weekend, or your friends on the weekend, or once a week, just to go out and have a couple of drinks, this is something that might not be a problem in the beginning, but it will become a problem, because if it brings you joy and it helps you have other people from the outside looking in on your relationship, because when you're with your friends, you talk about life, this becomes a problem for them, because now they have some other person giving input about the toxicity of the relationship. On the other hand, if you're an introvert, you might not be getting any input because you have nothing to share with people. And if you are around people, you're probably very private, so you don't share much. So now you don't have any other points of view of things where you might think this is normal, because the thing they'll do to gaslight you too is saying, oh, you think I'm jealous? Everybody's jealous. This is normal. Any person you're ever with will be jealous. So what's the problem? So this is how they start to gaslight things. One thing that happens too is not only through the gaslighting, there's drama. And you want to avoid it at all costs. So you start to do things their way, and you start to not do things that you would have done in the past because you want to avoid the drama. Because you know the punishment will come, and you're trying to avoid that. Some people get off on it, but then probably then you probably have two narcissists together, and that's why it's a big shit show with them. Also, the disrespect that starts to come also. You know, you went shopping. Oh, you didn't get this. Oh, you forget stuff. You're stupid. You're forgetful. Or, you know, you made something for dinner, and it's like, oh, this is what you made? You think this is edible food? Who eats this? So next thing you know, the gaslighting and the disrespect starts to come, and this starts to come often. You know, they start to make it where it depends on how they feel is how they want you to feel, because they want you to feel their suffering. Let's see. Oh, this is one that I experienced with my ex-wife over 20-something years ago. Telling you would be perfect if you change these things about you. They try to mold you to meet their unachievable high standards, right? It's like, oh, you're an amazing person. This is in the beginning, right? And this is why I'm with you. This is why I chose you. But you'd be perfect for me if you stop doing this, which is usually the thing that makes you you. So it's totally crazy. It's like you can't. It's like, okay, if my whole life is, say, just martial arts, oh, if you just stop going to martial arts, well, that's my whole life. Same thing if you happen to be a marathon runner, a triathlete, somebody who loves to go running, somebody who loves to do yoga. It's like, well, if you stop doing that, you'd be a better person, or you'd be perfect for me, because now, whatever the reason may be, and it's like, well, that makes you who you are. If you're a writer, you know, just, oh, don't write about science. Meanwhile, it's like you're a science writer. It's like, oh, if you wrote more about this or that, and it's like, that's not what makes you you. They start to change you. And the funny thing is, as you start to bend for them, they start to lose more and more respect for you. It just works that way. Because if you're trying to please them all the time, which is impossible, they're going to start to disrespect you more and more and think more lowly of you, lower of you. What's another thing? Oh, making fun of what you wear, the clothing you wear, how you wear them, your haircut, whether they like facial hair or not. Right away, it's like, oh, we've been together for a while. I really hate beards, you know, or I really, like, you look so much better without it. And it's funny, it's like, it's not that you look better without it, they just want to change you. Or they know that you love your beard, and they just want to take that away from you. So it's like little subtle things. Or a guy could be like, oh, you look really beautiful if you had some blonde streaks or blonde hair. It's like, well, I'm Indian or Asian, and I have jet black hair, and this looks really good on me, and I love my hair. Well, you like it, but I think you'd look better if you did this. And next thing you know, you start to do those things because you want to make them happy, and then you start to lose who you are. So it comes in so many shapes and forms. Another thing is, they want to monopolize your time and attention. They don't want you spending time going to the gym, or talking to your friend, or interacting with anybody else, because it has to be with them, because they need to be in full control. So once they start to monopolize your time, and you allow that to happen, because you let them already break your boundaries, where now Sunday night football, you don't watch football on Sundays with your friends because it caused a lot of problems, because she wanted to spend more time with you, and she hates football. In the beginning, she was good with it. Now she hates it. Doesn't make sense. But this is what you love to do, but you stop doing it because you don't want the drama in the house. You know, these are all little things that they just do. Then unfortunately what happens, the verbal abuse, the physical abuse, the psychological abuse, depending on the person, some are not physical, some are, but all of them are verbally and psychologically abusive. It's just, that's across the board for men and women. The men are usually the ones who are more physically abusive. And once anybody puts their hands on you ever, you get away from them as soon as possible. Because if talking about a red flag, there has to be a color worse than that, neon red. Get out of there. Next thing you know, they start threatening you. If you go here and you go there, I'm gonna go cheat, because you're probably cheating. Or if you're gonna go with your friends, I'm gonna go with my friends and get drunk. And it's like, well, I'm not getting drunk. It's just like right away there just comes all these threats. And it's like, well, if anything happens, if I do something and I get drunk and I can't control myself, it's your fault, because you're the one who made me do it. So remember, they never take responsibility for anything. You're always to blame. All these things start to make you not be who you are, not do the things you love to do. And this is where all the isolation starts to kick in, because you're letting them erode your boundaries. And this is all part of it. Them giving you the silent treatment. They don't respond to your texts, whether you live with them or not. Or if you are with them, they ignore you. They tune you out. Because these are all forms of punishment that they do. Withholding affection or intimacy. They're like, why would I want to touch you? You're disgusting. I saw you looking at that girl. It's like, what are you talking about? Oh, you think I don't know? Next thing you know, you start to question yourself. And you're like, oh, I didn't do that, but maybe I did. Or maybe I made her feel that way. It's like, oh man, what am I doing wrong? See, so next thing you know, you start to take the blame, and they're more and more control. Passive aggressiveness. What is another way through that? Through using sarcasm. Oh, you look really good in those pants. You gonna wear those outside the house? It's like, oh, it's the holidays. You definitely got your Santa suit ready, right? Things like that. I'm just making some stuff up. Same thing, a guy could say that to a girl, the woman he's with. Oh, you're gonna wear those? It's like, you always complain about your fat ass, right? You're gonna wear those type of pants? And with men especially, they'll try to control you. You look too sexy. You're putting off the wrong message there. Next thing you know, from you wearing, stuff that might be form-fitting, they're like, oh, I want you to wear a burqa. This will make me happy. And it has nothing to do with religion. They just want you to cover yourself from head to toe. Spending money unnecessarily. Say if you don't have much money, but they want to go to expensive restaurants. This is another form of punishing you. Asking you for money or asking your credit card and banging it out. These are other forms of punishing you also. And this starts to isolate you, because next thing you know, you're doing a lot less because you're in debt. So you can't go maybe out and just hang out with friends somewhere because you don't have the money to. Putting you down all the time. Remember, there's always times where they think you're the most amazing thing and then they put you down. Because if they did that all the time, they wouldn't be baiting you or breadcrumbing you. Making fun of you, talking about your style, how you talk, the things you like to watch, all of a sudden making fun of that. Accusing you of things all the time, which of course using jealousy as a tool. All this stuff erodes your boundaries over time if you allow it. And here you start to allow it when you do, because you want to avoid conflict. So another thing that they do, they start to ruin special days, your birthday, holidays. They just do this on purpose. They text bomb you. This is something I made up. Is where they start just being really abusive, sending you nasty texts nonstop, all day, all night, out of nowhere. I had it where I had over 200 text messages of just verbal abuse within a few days. And I was just deleting. And this is when text messages were like 5 cents a text message or whatever, because it wasn't just unlimited text messages. And my bill was like $200 something, and I couldn't afford it. And thank God the company, I told them what happened and they kind of erased the bill. But this is what they do. So every time you see that phone and you pick it up and you read that, what does it do to you? Fear, anger, makes you sad, makes you feel, agitated or paranoid. So if you're getting texts like that, if you can't delete them without reading them, block the person. It's just part of it. But this is all while you're in a relationship, so it's kind of hard to do. But these are all the red flags. Tracking your every move. Where'd you go today? What'd you do? Who'd you talk to? I remember my first day in the firehouse. It was actually one of the quietest days ever. We went to the supermarket to get food. I was sweating, but everybody was, I'm the new guy, so everybody was on top of me and abusive and all this stuff because of the hazing stuff that they did or still do. And I remember going to see her, and I didn't want to because I didn't want to feel bad that day. And she's like, "Oh, what'd you do?" I go, "Well, we didn't do much at the firehouse, but I did a lot. I cleaned this, I did that. And what else do you do?" I go, "The only time we left was to the supermarket." "Oh, were girls looking at you?" It's like, wow, all of a sudden, I already feel bad, and I thought she was gonna help me feel better. And it's just the abuse started coming. And I knew it on the way there. I shouldn't have went there, but that's what happened. They stalk you. They could look, social media, websites, pretty much search engines to see if they could catch you doing something. If your name is Mike Johnson, and they put that name in, there's probably thousands of people with Michael Johnson. Next thing you know, anywhere she sees that name, she's gonna abuse you and treat you badly for it. It's just, all these things that start to happen where you're actually walking on eggshells all the time, and you're trying to minimize the abuse. And when you try to minimize the abuse, what are you doing? You're starting to isolate yourselves. You're like, well, I'm not going to go here. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go on this. I'm not going to watch that anymore. I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm not doing all these things. I'm not going to talk to my friend. I'm not going to go spend time with my mom or my brother, because all these creates problems. And this is how you start to isolate yourself, because you're trying to lower the severity of the punishment that's going to come, and it always does. What are some other things? They keep tabs on you for everything. They want to look at your phone. Who did you text? Who did you talk to today? Let me see. Oh, where are you now? Oh, I'm in the supermarket. FaceTime me. Let me see if you're really at the supermarket. Oh, I'm with my friends. Let me see what friends you are. Let me say hello to them. These are other tactics that they use, especially with the phone. Next thing you know, it becomes embarrassing, so you don't do those things, or you don't go around those people, and this starts to isolate you also. Making you prove where you are, blame shifting. They played a victim. Why do I have to show you where I am? Well, I don't trust you. Well, I didn't do anything. Oh, yes, you have. What did I do? You know what you did. This is gaslighting. They didn't give you any detailed answer. You know what you did wrong. And they go, well, I don't remember. I don't know what I did wrong. It's like, oh man, I'm sorry I made you feel this way. This is where you fall into that trap. They break things of yours. I'm sat next to somebody once. I just went to a bar by myself because I just needed to get out of the house. And the lady next to me was like, "Oh, did you just break up with somebody?" And she goes, "Oh, I have borderline personality disorder." I go, "Wow, what's the odds of that?" And the person telling me. And she goes, "Oh yeah, my poor ex-boyfriend, I used to break all his shit." She's like, his guitar that he had, his favorite guitar, I smashed that shit to bits. And I was just like, oh my God, what's the odds of this happening? So, they'll start to do that. They'll donate your favorite shirt, or just throw it out. Oh, it's ugly, it's all stretched out. So next thing you know, they start to destroy things that you actually have some type of connection to or enjoy. It could be material things, which aren't a big deal, but it might have sentimental value to you. They just say how they don't trust you. You have to earn their trust. Meanwhile, you didn't do anything to break it, but they made up some stuff in their head where you have, and you can't disprove that. Because remember, they fill their memory gaps with their own thing that pertains to what they want, and you can't change that. No logic you have and no evidence will change it. This is where the crazy making comes, because you start to get confused. You're like, well, here's the proof, and it didn't make anything better, because now you're disproving them, and that makes them angry. They start to compare you with anything. Oh, you love your dog more than me? Oh, you love your brother more than me? Oh, you love playing those video games more than me? You love going to the gym more than me? You love martial arts more than me? It's like, no, it's very different things, so I don't understand. Well, I feel you do, and I'm not your number one priority. So what do? You either go to the gym less, or you stop going to the gym, or you stop seeing certain friends, or you see them less. And it's hard to explain these things because if somebody's never been through it, they don't understand it. And this is where all the isolation comes into play. And if you're a big introvert and you really are somebody who just stays home all the time and you play video games or whatever it may be, it's just that much easier for them because they don't have to do as much work to get you isolated. We're wrapping it up soon. I know it's 25 minutes. Let me just get past some of the other stuff. One thing is they want you to depend on them for all your emotions, happiness, sadness, anything. They want you to depend on them for everything. And this is part of manipulation to control you, control everything about you. And this is super dangerous. And this is what they aim for, whether they're aware of it or not. This is how they just work. They want to destroy anything that makes you happy or joyful. They want themselves to be that thing. So they want them to be, I'm your happiness, I'm your joy. I don't want anything else to be. This is crazy. Anybody should be able to enjoy anything. If you listen to a song, if you see a painting, you should be able to enjoy it. It doesn't have to be her or him. So this is another thing that they do. They want to take away all your independence. They want every decision to hang on them. So even if you're just dating a person, if you go to get a car or a pair of sneakers, they want to be with you because they want to tell you what they want you to get, even if they're not paying for it, even if you don't live with them. They want to be in full control of what you do and what you don't do. And this is part of the isolation, and this is really scary. And this is just what happens. So that's why a lot of the stuff I'm talking about could be really triggering, because we all experience it on a spectrum to a certain extent. And it depends on the duration, which is how long you have or haven't been with the person. You're a special person, right? Crazy. Let's see, what else did I put? Everything you do is wrong, because if it's not their way, it's not the right way. So this is what happens. And then, after honeymoon stage is when all this really starts to inflate. So the devaluation, humiliating you, putting you down, making you feel not worthy. The whole thing is to have control of you, to be in control of your self-esteem. And then this is what they really want. And the biggest move they could do from there is turn people against you, whether it's family, friends, your own children, co-workers. And then from there, if you go with it and you allow them to do that, they've isolated you. Another thing is not going out anymore. They've isolated you. And the biggest thing, which is the scariest thing, is for them to convince you to move to an area that they know you have no friends or family there, so they could be in full control of everything. And this is where the abuse goes to another level, because you have nobody to talk to what they think. This is what they think, and this is what they hope for. So I don't want to make this any longer, but these are just some ideas of what these people do to you, if you want to even call them people, to isolate you. And the people who are the most vulnerable are usually the introverts and the empaths, because most of the time empaths are introverts. I know I'm one. So it's like, I'm a very friendly, outgoing person, but I love my alone time, and this is just the way that I'm built. And I've been like this since I was a kid. Everybody's different, but these are all the things that they do to isolate you. The thing is, most therapists and videos don't talk about introverts. Introverts are the ones that could be the most manipulated the most easily, because isolation is not that difficult for a toxic person, because most of the time, if you're an introvert, you spend a lot of time alone as it is. So there's less for them to do on the outside with people, but to do more on the inside, which is mostly the emotional, physical, mental stuff, is where they'll start to put more of their energy. If you're not an introvert, they have to get all the people around you, either against you or become one of the flying monkeys, which, if you think of them as the Wicked Witch, that's their army of monkeys. So looking at isolation and the tactics that they use, this is really important. And, if you're an introvert, it makes it a little bit easier for them. But this is why I made this video, to look at all the things that they do so you could be more aware. And if you're more aware, you could protect yourself better and start to take care of yourself. And from there, find some support. If it's not old friends that you've isolated yourself from and you can't reach out to, definitely seek some help, some therapy, or some support groups. So I hope this helped. I know it was a long video, but this is something that I thought of today where I'm like, oh, a lot of people don't cover this. And this is the stuff that happens the most, but most people are very unaware of. All right, so thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping you happy healing and working through your stuff, where eventually you can move on and past this person or this trauma and get the most out of life, because you definitely deserve it.